knows what he's doing.
He has a long-term game plan, and it's going to start in Jerusalem. He knows he's going to encounter resistance there, but he's going to flip it into a positive. He's going to build on his relationships there and go out to the rest of the region, and then expand his operations in Samaria. And hey, why not to the ends of the earth? He's always seen this as a global brand. He's just started global.
But Samaria, why would he bother with a territory full of losers and outsiders?
Come on, Andrea. You know as well as I do. People in the margins are often the most open to products like what the bosses offer.
The whole strategy sounds a little risky to me.
Sorry. I'll trust him with my life. That's all I know. You need to decide whether or not you would too, before we ink this contract.
You know, I read an interview with him where he said those who follow him need to give it all. Those who want to save their life will lose it. And those who lose their life for my sake will gain it. Something like that.
Seriously? I need to be willing to lose my life for this job? What about boundaries?
Being a disciple is not just a job, Andrea. It is your life. And it makes sense for the rest of your life. I don't know one of his disciples who regrets giving all to be close to him. Well, maybe one. Judas is causing a little trouble. For most of us, following him is the way we're becoming whole, using the gifts we've been given, putting them to his service. It's not about salary, because that's non-existent. It's not about insurance packages and perks, because they're hit or miss. It's not about hours and vacation days, because you're on call 24/7. It's not about recognition, because you're going to run into a lot of people who hate what you're doing, even family and friends sometimes. It's not about meeting fancy people, because a lot of his market share is people who are poor, sick, unemployed, depressed, addicted, mean, ornery, selfish.
Wait a minute. I thought we were going to be working for the master of the universe.
Working for Andrea, not becoming. You having second thoughts?
It's just, I worked so hard for this, to be chosen. And what you're describing isn't what I thought I was signing up for.
It's always your choice, you two. You can walk away at any time. Plenty have. I tell you though, in my experience, the benefits outweigh the challenges.
What are the benefits again?
The reward of using your gifts, of seeing the transformation of people's lives, the working with the true master of the universe, and all kinds of perks, like wonderful community, not to mention the fruits of the Spirit, like peace, love, patience. There's no one else I'd rather work for. No, make that work with. We really don't work for him. And we don't work instead of him. We work with him, collaborating with him. He did tell his associates he considered them friends, not employees. And you know, he's the one who chooses you, not the other way around. But you have to say yes. So, you on board?
I guess so. I guess any new job is a leap of faith, right?
I'm there. Happier than a pig in a mud puddle to join his team.
Again with the pork.
That's okay. In the new territories the master's opening up, we don't need to worry about keeping kosher. So go ahead, hand it out.
So, would you be in? Would you wanna sign on for that? If that was the way you were called? I think this process would be a little more gentle than what Paul went through on the road to Damascus. Getting blinded for 3 days and then having to hang around with people who don't trust you for very good reasons is an even harder way. And then in our gospel, the post-resurrection fish fry, as I like to call that story, is another call. It's the way that Jesus called the disciples, some of them, the first time around. And though some people think that this story would have only happened once and the different gospel writers put it in different places, I like to think it happened twice. That Jesus said, I know how to get their attention and how to remind them of who I am. And in doing this thing again where things they could not possibly have done on their own suddenly become manifest, they recognize him. So I don't know what way God has called you to be a follower of Christ and to live out the life, the salt, the light, the life of Christ in this world, which is badly in need of all of those things. Maybe God is still calling you. Maybe you're still in negotiations, still in contract talks with the Master of the universe about how you are being called. I do believe that if you're here, it's because God is calling or has called, and you are in some place on that journey. And I believe that God will make God's self known the way Jesus did on the beach. And it's God's work, just like it wasn't the disciples that really invited those fish into the nets. I think it was the Lord of heaven and earth who invited those fish into the nets so that the disciples would know. It's his work, but he invites our participation. So one of my favorite parts of that story is when he says, bring some of the fish that you have caught. So we bring what we're doing and our efforts and our gifts, and they come together with what God has given us and what God is up to, which is really where the success is going to be. When we join ourselves, our gifts, and our contributions with what God is already doing. And then we find ourselves living this fruitful, abundant, purposeful life that has meaning. And that creates a joy that is contagious and other people want to come along too. So I just want to echo that last thing in the script, that it's not working for God. It's working with God. It's also, we're not working for the people with whom we serve. We often think about, we must go out to serve other people, so we're doing things for them. If we're doing things for them, we're not building them up. We're missing the point, and we're not truly allowing God to work through us. We also work with people whom we feed, whom we empower, whom we educate, whom we come alongside and bring healing to. So I want us, as we become more conscious of our life as disciples, it's not a word we use much these days, so I've been using it less and less. I just say Christ follower instead of disciple because it doesn't mean much to us in 2013. But as we become more conscious of intentionally following the living Lord Jesus, wherever he calls to us, whatever beaches we find him on, across whatever expanses of water, that I want us to hold that word with. We're working with the God who made us and is restoring all things, and we're working with people who at any given moment may need what we have, knowing that at other times as we work with them, maybe not not even at other times, sometimes at the very same time, what they have is feeding us. And we are helping, we are partnering, we are collaborating in bringing restoration and wholeness to every person